Steve Durbin. He is the Global Vice President of the Information Security Forum. He's going to share a little bit about trends and workplace threats in the mobile space. What kind of research are you guys doing into cross-platform botnets, meaning something maybe where the malware affects a mobile device and then it gets on the company computer or vice versa?
Yeah, this is clearly an issue that we've been looking at now for some while, and I think for about the last 2 to 3 years, I've been advising people that one of the most effective ways from a cybercrime standpoint anyway to get access to corporate systems has been through the mobile device. There are a number of routes in. The apps market, for instance, is one of the ways in which hackers, cyber criminals are obviously finding a route. But also we've got the issue of unprotected networks that we might be accessing again on our mobile devices. For instance, when we might be sitting in coffee shops or at hotels, airports, and so on. So the issue is not one that's going to go away. It is one that security departments have to really get their arms around.
Is the whole Android versus Apple security debate, does a lot of that have to do with the app marketplace and how secure the two are?
Well, I mean, one of the things about the Android market, of course, is that it is significantly larger than the Apple market. And so when we hear about malware or we hear about hacks and so on, we have to bear in mind that there are many more devices out there that are Android than Apple. That being said, Apple does take a very much more stringent approach to security assurance of its apps. And so I think my advice to anybody actually who's downloading an app, whether it be on an Android device, whether it be on an Apple device, is just be sure of the provenance of that app. Personally, I always wait for friends or family to download some of these apps first, so I can be sure that they do actually work the way that they're supposed to work. But they're very convenient, and particularly with free apps, you download them, you open them up, you see whether or not you like them. If you don't like them, you bin them, right? That's a potential problem as well. So it's about just being aware and just taking a little bit more security or responsibility, I think, for what it is that you access, download, and use.
And talking about Apple, they recently came out, or they've announced that they'll have the biometric fingerprint scanning as a means of authentication.
Yeah.
What do your member organizations feel about that? Do you guys, as an organization, believe that that will give more security with the widespread adoption of these types of authentication?
I think it's an interesting trend, an interesting move that we've seen. I mean, fingerprint scanning, fingerprint technology, biometric technology has been around for some while now. IBM, of course, put it onto their laptops a number of years ago. One of the issues there was it wasn't 100% reliable. And I think that now having moved it into the consumer space, that really is going to be the test. And we won't know until these devices ship at large as to how consumers react to them, the reliability of them, and so on. But from a security standpoint, I do think that the ability to use a fingerprint scan, which is then contained on the actual chip, so on the device, so it's not being shared with the iCloud, it's not being shared with any other public clouds that are out there, is a good step forward. And I think that combining that with some of the additional functionality that we're seeing from iOS 7 when it's available in a week or so, again, does raise the game from an Apple standpoint in terms of securing the consumer device. So for me, it's a good move.
Okay. So as of now, it's not necessarily the hacking threat of someone stealing that data, but more so about how people will be able to operate with it. Will it be functional?
Yeah, I think so. I think we are talking about consumer devices, and so we have a very low tolerance for things that don't work effectively. When we talk about consumer devices, we expect them to work right first time, and for me, that's going to be the real proof of it. But I think the other thing that I would say about it is that as we move down the road of having very much more electronic-enabled wallet-type devices, you have to have increased security on the device itself, because we do have a habit of losing these things. And we all talk about cyber-based threats, but we mustn't forget that there is a very physical theft component to this too. So being able to just walk away with someone's phone and then access some of their bank account details, or indeed simply just their Starbucks card, is not something that we should forget.
We talk a lot about when people in an organization bring their phone into the business, but what about when there's a change that happens? They update their phone or they leave the workplace. what do businesses need to be telling or doing there?
Yeah, good question, because of course a lot of people don't take that into account when they're thinking about what they're going to be doing with a consumer device. For me, this is about businesses having to focus back on the information. It isn't so much about the devices. It is about what information do I as a business need to be securing. What information am I prepared to allow my employees to access, and from where, and how do I monitor that? That takes us into a whole range of different areas that we might want to consider, such as virtualization. That gets around some of the issues, particularly if you have a number of road warriors who are out there accessing information from various different environments and traveling across jurisdictions. The fact that you are housing your data in one particular place and forcing the connection effectively to that means that you could bring in a higher degree of security. Sandboxing is another way to go, where we're actually preserving the integrity of the environment. The downside is that you have to be designing your applications to work in that space from the beginning, so that may be difficult for some.
Thanks for sharing all of that great information with us. Again, I'm here with Steve Durbin of the ISF, and please join us next time.